Yo.
I won't do it. I don't want to include copyright.
How's it going?
How's it going? Nice to joining us. First of all,
yeah, absolutely.
It's much appreciated.
Sure.
I always start off with these questions, such as you want to introduce yourself, tell people who you are.
Yeah,
we can do that anyway, right? I mean, unless people are discovering Power BI this very second, they probably know. But who are you, mate? Tell us about yourself.
Patrick LeBlanc. I work for Microsoft, but I'm a PM on the Power BI Customer Advisory team. But I also have a little YouTube channel where my buddy, my BFF, Adam Saxon, and we talk about Power BI. And on Tuesdays, we just announced we're going to start doing some data stuff on Tuesday. So yeah, that's me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This stuff about your data stuff on Tuesday sounds pretty interesting. Do you want to go into it? Because it sounds, especially for someone like me, it sounds quite interesting. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Adam and I, we've been talking about this a long time, and I was hesitant, to be honest with you, about it, but we decided that on Tuesdays that we're going to start doing what we call Data Tuesdays. And we just released our first video, and I keep telling Adam all the time, I'm so nervous about this. I think people have all these expectations about what's going to happen. He's like, just calm down. Adam's like my voice of reason. He keeps me at bay because I'm chaos, right? Adam's like this. He's all the structure that brings all the chaos, Patrick, together, because I could be chaotic. But he's like, just calm down, dude. Just calm down, guy. We'll get it. We'll do it. And so he and I will probably spend some time this weekend, because we already have some videos recorded, and I'm already like, I don't think this is gonna go what we're talking about. He's like, they're already done. Let them go, man. Let them go. So we're gonna talk about general data stuff. Like I was telling you before we started, I may even do a video on writing your first T-SQL statement. So I don't know if people notice, my Twitter handle is PatrickDBA. So I made my career on SQL Server, writing T-SQL. And so you'll probably see some videos like that, creating your first table. And how do you create a table in SQL Server? How do you insert some data into it, right? Really simple things. So stay tuned. We haven't decided yet, but we'll do some stuff like that.
That is, for someone like me, which I'll explain in a second, a very, very cool idea, because I started with Power BI. Right.
Yeah.
So the first things that I was writing, the first things I was discovering was, like M and then DAX. And then I was kind of, okay, so I can do these things. I'm learning these skill sets within Power BI, but what's all this other stuff? And you start looking at job applications like SQL. I'm like, okay. So I felt I was learning backwards somehow. And so there's someone in the chat actually called K Joshua, and he works with me, and he can, his SQL just will absolutely kick my ass every day of the week, because basically he can do it. So these concepts of the basics is a really good idea. Actually, I'll say this about Kay as well. He told me that the reason he got into Power BI was you, by the way, Patrick. And so you inspired him to go in a Power BI, which is a nice thing.
Nice.
Yeah. And he's very good, by the way. So I should be thanking you indirectly for having a very, very capable and very nice colleague. So there you go.
There you go.
Good stuff. I watched a video today of yours, this intro to Azure Synapses. That was very cool.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that, and it got me thinking about your channel. I won't talk just about your channel, don't worry. What I really appreciate about it is the fact that it does go from like very complex stuff, and also covers, like, I would suggest also like the basics as well. You cover like the very broad spectrum of what is Power BI.
Yeah.
Like how to do something with a button, to how to do something really much more complex.
Yeah.
It's how do you come up with this?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you here, man.
Please, man.
So I go to Adam and I go, dude, I'm going to do this video on this really complicated thing. And this is the first thing Adam's going to say. Nobody's going to watch that, Patrick. And the video I recorded last night, and I'm not going to give it away. It's coming out next week. It's super technical. And so Adam's probably nobody's going to watch this video, Patrick. And so we try to balance it out. And we run ideas by each other all the time. And I wish I could tell you that we spent weeks and weeks planning for these videos. But some of the videos do take a little time to plan for, like the one that's coming out next week. But a lot of times it's just kind of like, ooh, I got an idea on this video, and I just turn my camera on and I record the video. And that's just how Adam and I work. I wish I could tell you we did lots of planning. We did, spend weeks doing this, but it's just, we're at our normal day job and something comes up and I'll write it down on my whiteboard and one of us go, oh, we should do a video on this. Oh, we should do a video on this. And that's just how the videos come to life.
That's really interesting.
It's just easy, right?
Yeah. I did always have this concept of like, this very planned, structured thing where it's, again, going back to this chaos, right? You embrace that chaos and just go with it.
Yep.
But doing your day job is a fantastic way to kind of to plan that, because it's something that maybe you have to think of yourself, or you weren't sure, or you just kind of springs to your mind. I think working with the tool makes it really helpful to kind of think, okay, yeah, that could be fun also. But if you want to talk about videos that no one's going to watch, for me, anything that seems to be Power Query related, it's like Power Query and people watching the video, in my humble experience, it's like the drop off is extreme. It's like, we didn't do a video about DAX, like all the views. Video about M, nah, not so much.
Nobody watches it. Don't say that in front of Alex Powers. Please don't say that in front of Alex Powers.
I would happily make 10 videos about Power because I love it so much. But it's like, where's it just, everyone's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't look at that. It's
no. It's true. It's true. But you know what we find? It's funny. What we find, and I think a lot of people that do videos will attest to this. The simplest topics, that's the most interesting, that's the most viewed videos. Whenever I try to do something overly complicated, like the video next week, it's so niche that we're not sure how many people are going to watch it, but it's okay. It's okay. I enjoy it. I enjoy doing them. So, Yeah.
As I mentioned to someone on Twitter this week, it's not about the views, because if it is, we'll probably just cry and stop.
Yeah, no, it's not like I'm making a living from this stuff, It's just I remember when Adam first asked me to do this, it was like, I'm not doing this, Adam. I'm not behind the camera. I like to be on the stage up front talking to people. And I mean, I won't say you had to twist my arm, but it took a little convincing. It took a little convincing for him to get me to do this.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But you do like love being on stage and presenting that way. Is this?
Oh. Yeah. So I got a chance to go to Sequel Bits. Okay. I don't know how long ago it was, and I will tell you this. And there were people there that can attest to what happened when I did the presentation by myself. At the end of the presentation, I had to hold back tears because I was so excited to be presenting in front of a live audience for the first time in almost 3 years.
Yeah,
almost 3 years. So it was amazing. It was amazing.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. I feel quite comfortable like presenting Power BI stuff like online now, because it's all I've ever done. But I can't imagine presenting in front of people. It's a whole different thing. I know it's about confidence, and you start off small and you get bigger. But even like the thought of doing like a local user group in front of like 30 people, I'm like, where's the safety of my computer?
And do it. It's the best. Yeah. Presenting in person, the reason I like presenting in person so much is I can get a really good gauge of the audience. I can see them. I can see their facial expressions. I can see their body, their body gestures and things like that. And so if I'm talking about something that people don't quite understand, I can almost look and say, oh, I need to slow down. I need to step back. I need to reiterate this. I need to repeat this. But online, it's just me staring at a camera. And I don't get that same type of interaction, I can
understand that. Yeah.
So it's, if you ever talk to Adam, ask him about me and presenting live. It's a whole different, it's a whole different spectrum. And so I remember like the first YouTube videos, he would say, hey, Patrick doesn't show up until halfway through the video. I need Patrick to show up at the beginning of the videos, but in person, I show up the moment I step on the stage. So
that's awesome.
It's a whole different thing.
I mean, the only thing I can think of to put in a comparison is like if I do like a training, right? If I do Power BI training, like I really like to do that in person. It's sort of rules like for my colleagues or whatever, because even for like simple stuff, you mentioned like facial expression. Like if someone is not understanding something, they have a question, but they're a little bit shy to ask the question, you can see it on their face. But online, camera is normally switched off, sometimes
You
switched
can't.
off. It's a different. I feel like it is not the. I'm not getting the experience. Maybe they're not learning as the way they should, because it's about like dedicating attention to individual people and just reading the room and seeing people and stuff. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but this is Adam's giving me stuff. What
Yeah.
you
No.
say? Lives off the person in the audience. He feeds off the energy. There you go. I can well imagine how that
I
works.
like what we'll just Adam, but I'm an energy vampire. I'm an energy vampire.
That's class. I love that. Energy vampire.
Okay, Adam.
Fantastic.
The keynote. All right.
That is a good show. I like that a lot. Very cool. So yourself and a guy in a cube and stuff. How did that come up? Because you said Adam invited you to start doing it. How did that come up? Just
I don't know how many years ago it was today.
Okay.
I know it has to be at least over 5 years ago. But Adam and I have been knowing each other. We met at conferences and we were hanging out. And he just asked me one day, he's like, "Hey," because Adam's been doing Guy in the Cube before I joined. It'd been there a couple of years before I joined, and he said, "Oh, you should do this." And I'm like, No, I'm not doing that. And then all of a sudden, a box showed up, and then I had a camera with a mic, and
she bribed you.
No, he did not. No, he did not. I gave him my credit card, and in the early days. Now we have our own, and so then I started doing it. I guess, I don't know. Adam's in the chat. He could tell you how the dates. I'm not good with that kind of stuff. I guess it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was a struggle, man. It was. I'm telling you, I refuse to go back and watch any video that's that's within the first year of me doing they were the worst. It was like me, like a robot. I'm Patrick from Guy in the Cube. It was awful. No energy. It was the worst things ever.
Yeah, but it's harder getting from the camera and, like, as you probably said already, like, feel yourself. Some said to me once, watch a video, but it doesn't really feel like it's you. It feels like but it's really hard to, like, talk to a camera and, like, have my own normal energy. I find it a difficult thing. I look at the camera and I just okay, so every time I prepared beforehand, I'm this is what I'm going to do in the video. And as soon as I start talking, I'm just like, okay, it's a bit more sterile now, because I know it's really difficult. It's a tough thing.
So I'll tell you this. So I'll tell you this story. So Adam, every video he would come back and say, "Patrick, you're not showing up. Where's the energy? Where's the energy? The same energy in person. I need it on the camera." And he's like, those guys on YouTube, they start their videos a certain way or something like that. So I talked to both of my kids. So at the time, my daughter was probably, I don't know, man. She's 17 now. So she's 11, 12 years old. And I said, "Hey, you watch YouTube. What should I do, to start my videos?" And she was like, "What did you say when you were a kid, Dad?" I'm like, "Oh, you say yo." And she was like, "Oh, you should say yo at the beginning." So the first time I did it, I said, "Yo, this is Patrick."
No.
And she was like, No, Dad. You got to go, yo. And I did it. And I recorded the video and I sent it to Adam. And he called me back and he goes, "That's it. That's what we're doing." And that was it. And so then it just got better and better, got better equipment. I started getting more boxes at my house with new cameras and lights and microphones and all kind of stuff. And it just kept getting better and better. Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that story a lot. So it came from your kid. The only input that my kid has had so far on anything Power BI related is I was working and they're like, "Dad, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm doing this is my job. This is what I do." And I was like, "It's cool, isn't it?" And they were like, "No." And walked away. And I was like, "How dare you? How dare you say Power BI is not cool? I will never forgive you." Oh, man. But yes.
But that's where the yo came from. And we've been using the yo, I don't know. And I will tell you this, and sometimes we get people say, "Oh, you guys need to stop doing the yo. You need to come up with something else." I'm like, I'm never going to stop doing the yo. I'm never going to say, so as long as I'm on YouTube, I'm going to do the yo. So
yeah, that's not good feedback. Keep the yo. Everyone loves the yo. It's like, if you see it written somewhere, like, yeah, okay, I know where that's coming from. I know what they're referring to. Oh. Yeah. Amazing
It's
stuff.
funny when you're at a conference or when we're in person, people are on the other side of the street and they go, "Yo," and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Like a celebrity catchphrase. It's fantastic. It's great. Oh man. So in a moving on to Power BI type stuff, when you obviously you use the tool quite often.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what sort of thing frustrates you the most from it? I'm just curious as to what people who are extreme heavy users who are like, what sort of thing, what do you feel restricted by when you use Power BI?
So I'm
If you can answer
always
that.
I'm not a visual. I'm all about modeling and building data models and writing DAX and things like that. And for me is sometimes I just want as much data on my local machine as possible. And I wish there was a way that if I wanted to bring a billion rows, I wasn't restrained by my machine. And so there's some ways now, with the XML endpoint and shared data sets and stuff that you can get around it. But I just want to bring all the data down, do some testing locally of this large data before I bring it up. So that's the thing that frustrates me the most. But hey,
when you say 1 billion, do you think Adam would say at 1 billion accounts as big data? Because every time I watch a video, I say that's not big data.
Oh, he would say
it's
that.
not big
Oh,
data.
no.
Yeah.
Oh no, he would say that's not big data. He would say that's
200 billion.
Yeah. He'd totally say that's not big data. He would totally say that's not big data.
I'm waiting for one day just to get Adam to admit that something actually is big data. It'll be an exciting day for everyone. Truly, it will.
He would totally say that's not big data. He would say, "Oh, a billion rows. That's nothing. That's nothing. That's nothing." Right.
Yeah, man. No, for me, looking at like the data aspect, bringing the amount in, I've never worked with that huge amount. It's looking at the data. Like if I want to look at the data when I work, I've got to like pop open Power Query. I wish I could look at the data whilst I'm actually in. For example, you got your views, right? You got your.
Oh.
It would be really cool if you could pop the view, like pop data view, pop modeling view, so you can look at the two things simultaneously. That would be rad. I'd love that so much.
Well, I think Will Thompson's in the chat. He's probably listening. So
yeah,
Will, I don't know if you heard Ben.
That was just for you, Will. if that's already in the works and it comes out in 6 months, I'm going to take credit for it anyway. Okay, that's just I gotta do it. Oh man, but yeah. So, but you also basically no visuals, DAX modeling, that type
DAX,
of stuff.
data modeling, incremental refresh, aggregations, all that, anything that has to do with data modeling or DAX. You can ask Adam, like the video next week, when he brought the scenario to me, I was like, what? That should work. But it didn't work. And then we talked to Phil C. Mark and we got it working. But I'll get stuck on those types of things. But if you ask me to design a report, no way, man. And put all pie charts. All pie charts work for everything. Just use pie charts everywhere.
Okay, that was a great session. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Oh yeah. If you want to use a pie chart, you use a pie chart. I'm not going to sit here and judge anyone.
I just, when the data model, for me, the data model is the core of everything. And so if you get the data model right, then the DAX will be simple. The reports will be great. They'll be performant and you don't have to worry about anything. But if you get the data model wrong, if somebody sends me some DAX and the DAX is complicated, it's 9 times out of 10, it's because they have a bad data model. So let's fix the data model. Let's just fix the data model and we'll worry about everything else later.
That is a very fair point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. You have a pie chart in your t-shirt. Pac-Man, the original pie chart, right?
Yeah, there he goes, right?
Right, just like no visuals. That's it. Just load the data in. No visual. Just a few numbers. There you go. Publish it.
Yeah. If you design the data model, publish the data model out, then let everybody connect to it and build their reports. And not me. I'm not building the reports. Let somebody else build them.
I had someone call me today and ask me about how can I replicate the calculation that you have in this report, Ben? And as well, if you ask me that question, I'm actually going to advocate just connecting to the data model, please. I will never say, okay, I've built this report and here's how you connect it to Excel. But if someone asks me the question, how can I replicate that calculation? It's like, I don't want to have that conversation right now. Just connect to it, take it.
No, what? Replicate the DAX? No, we're not replicating the DAX. You put the DAX in the data model, one place, because if I need to change the DAX, I change it in one place.
Yeah.
They just broke my heart. They just broke my heart, Ben. They just broke my heart. Broke my little heart.
I was on holiday for 2 weeks, and I got back, and I think one of my first questions was basically like, this report, how can I export it to Excel? And I was like, come on, you gotta give me like 3 questions before you like, again, as you say, break my heart because it's such an upsetting thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, of course. There you go. Someone mentioned before, I said about popping up the data, and someone mentioned, I can't find the exactly, here it is, Kurt. Tabular. So basically, yes, if you're using Tabular, you can look at the modeling view, you can look at the data view there. I understand that, you're totally right, but sometimes I just want to, do it.
I lost you.
Don't like. So I mentioned before about looking at the data views, looking at the modeling view.
Yeah.
And I would like to look at that whilst I'm looking at the Power BI report. And of course, saying if you use Tabular Editor, you can just look in actually within Tabular Editor instead of popping it out from Power BI. But I don't want to. I don't want to give excuses and to say what it's not needed. It would still be very cool for me. Yeah. Crazy one-on-one reports, one-on-one relationship. I have a fantasy football report, and I decided at one point to rebuild it because it was you have these reports that are kind of like your development reports, your kind of experimental places where you do all the crazy stuff as you're learning. And I took this report and I used it and I built it and I published it because it was all right. I was like, once one soccer season, I'm going to rebuild it. And I went back into it and I looked at it and I was like, this entire model is one of the worst things I've seen in my entire life. And I'm ashamed of myself, but luckily no one else ever saw it. So this is perfectly fine. Oh man. It's it's nice when you only you see your own strange stuff.
Yeah. I tell you, the most embarrassing thing is sending some DAX to Alberto and Marco, and then they come back and go, I can't believe you even wrote this. So it's pretty embarrassing. It's pretty embarrassing sending some DAX to them. So just
sending. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's like the highest level of judgment. You know what I'm saying? It's that's cool though, that you can have that relationship, actually send them something and they actually have a look at it and read it and get back to you.
They get back.
It's a handy tool to have, mate, right?
It's not something it's not a frequent thing, it's not a frequent thing. But if I get stuck, and Phil Seamark is not available, I'll go to them. And I mean, they respond. They're great. They're a great couple of guys. They respond pretty quickly. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I was speaking to Alberto a couple of weeks ago on one of these chats, and I really enjoyed it. I think most of the conversation was just taken up by talking about accents and talking about different strange words in the English language. I was thinking this conversation is going to be really DAX heavy. It's going to be difficult for me because, I know DAX, but I'm not like in any way like an expert at DAX. I can just do what I need to do. And in the entire discussion, I think we mentioned DAX like 4 times. I was so relieved because I was sitting there thinking I'm going to like understand like 25% in this conversation, which is very similar when I spoke to Christian Wade, which is really good fun. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I need to Google like 75% of the words that this guy's saying because this is like really stuff. But it's
no,
nice,
I don't know. It's not that. I would say back when I first joined the CAT team, DAX was super challenging for me. Super challenging. Over the years, I've had a chance to focus on DAX and data modeling and the things I really enjoy. And it's still challenging. I don't call it difficult anymore. It's just challenging. And so I honestly enjoy a good DAX puzzle. I do.
Nice.
I enjoy them. Yeah,
very good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can send mine to you. You can send those on Alberto, and we'll have a whole chain going on. Just thinking about you mentioned before about your Twitter handle DBA, and you mentioned DAX. I'm curious as to your professional journey, what you started with, and how did that? That'd be quite cool.
Yeah. You got about an hour. No, I kid.
Yeah.
I oddly enough, I started my career as a mortgage underwriter. I started out underwriting loans, telling people they can get a house or they couldn't get a house. It was a really odd thing. And then my mother-in-law gave me a Toshiba laptop with a screen that's about that big on it. And I was traveling to these different branches around the United States, teaching the loan officers how to properly package a loan. And I would write all this stuff down. And when I got back to the office, I would type up these emails, and it would take me forever to type up these emails. I'm like, wait a minute. And I couldn't read my handwriting. And so I had this little laptop and it had Microsoft Access on it. and I went into the store and I bought a book called the Access Bible.
No.
And I created a little piece of software in Access that when I went to the branch office, I would type up, this branch, this loan, this information. So I started creating I created this little relational database. And then when I get back, I wrote a macro. You press a button, choose a branch, press a button. It attaches a Word document to my Outlook, and then I send the email. So instead of taking all week, it would take me, 20 minutes to do it. And the CEO of the company came to my desk one morning and he's like, Patrick, did you do this? I'm like, yeah, I did it. Now, today's Patrick, a smarter Patrick, would have said, I did this. You want to buy it from me? Young, naive Patrick said, yeah, I did it. And he's like, can all the other underwriters use it? I'm like, sure, let's give it to them.
Yeah.
Not that bright, but I did it. And so I did that, and then I decided to go to graduate school and work on a degree in information systems. And it was just all like a snowball from there. I became a DBA, and then I started doing business intelligence. I got really lucky because I met this guy named Brian Knight, who had a company called Pragmatic Works. They hired me to be a consultant there. Then I met another guy who's like, you should be working at Microsoft. And then, I got the job at Microsoft. But a lot of my progression in my career was because of the community, people I know, people I met along the way. And then when I was working for Microsoft, Adam and I got really close, and I started talking to Adam, hanging out with Adam, and now I'm here. And so I wish I can say, it was all my hard work. I mean, I worked hard along the way. Don't get me wrong. I worked hard along the way. But, there's certain people along the path that just kept bringing me, saying, oh, you should do this. Oh, Patrick, I know a guy, Patrick, Adam on the cat team. He's like, oh, you guys should hire Patrick on the cat team, So a lot of the community, really helped me to get where I'm at today.
Yeah. So I think that it's just some kind of expression, the harder work, the luckier I get, or something like that. It's, You need a bit of both, for sure.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the number of stories about where people end up working with data that start with, there was this really manual process that annoyed me and I wanted to improve it. It's to have that mentality to recognize I'm doing it this way and it really sucks, but surely there's a better way. It's such an important way of thinking, to look at a process and say, okay, this is terrible. What tool exists? Is there something, even now it's like, is there something like, okay, there's some data somewhere that's someone, copy and pasting the worst thing. The copy and paste and manual entry are basically the two worst things in the universe, right? It's as soon as anytime I say anything with the copy paste process, I've probably mentioned this like 10 times when I do these chats, but I still think that one of the best things I've ever seen, when I say best, I mean worst, is this time where I saw someone using Power Query in one of the most bizarre ways I've seen in my entire life. You had to report this person, and they used Power Query, and what they did to Power Query was to adjust the order of the columns so that the VLOOKUP would work. And I was like, yeah, I was in a telco. And I had to like mute myself because I didn't know whether to laugh or kind of just cry or rage. It was such a bizarre thing to see. And I was like, you're so close to doing something that would have been great, but no. And then so he adjusted the columns, and then from that he just did this whole copy and paste process, because now the data was in the correct order that he needed to paste it into another Excel file. It was Jeez. It was It was astonishing. Do you see that a lot in your? I mean, I'm not sure how much exposure you have to outside processes. I mean, what is your day to day like? I mean, what do you find yourself doing?
So there's a lot of meetings. There's a lot.
You love it.
There's a lot of meetings. So we work with a set of customers on our team. We work with the largest, Power BI customers in the world, and I actually just my regions have just shifted. The customers that I cover have just shifted thanks to Adam, and you're on calls with them and they'll have a list of things, or they'll have a specific reason, or there's a technical challenge that they can't overcome, or there's a feature in the product that they can't, that's not there. And we have to figure out how to work around it. But most of my day is spent, on the phone with customers, coming up with, listening to them talk about Power BI, because they say Power BI is so great all the time. They're always happy with Power BI. And we take that feedback. A part of our job is, we're the voice of the customer. So we take that feedback, we bring it back to the engineering team, and we say, hey, look, customer X would really like this feature in the product. Hopefully there's other customers, and hopefully, our team, we can help shape and transform the future of Power BI. So it's a great job. I will tell you, I don't mind getting up and going to work in the morning. Let's just say that. I don't mind, coming down to my office and sitting at my desk and doing my job, because it's less of a job, and it's just more of a passion.
Yeah, I've got my dad downstairs, and I haven't seen him for like 2.5 years. And I was like, I was going to pop up back in an hour and a half. Dad, sorry about that. Anyway, I was talking to him. I was saying it's really nice to have a job where it's like, feels kind of a bit like your hobby as well. It's something that you actually need. Yeah, you can feel stressed because you got a lot going on, but in general, to not have to think, oh, it's Sunday, I've got to work tomorrow, it sucks. It's like, no, this is fine.
Not me. I enjoy it. I will be honest with you. I absolutely enjoy it, especially with the stuff that I get to work on now. I have some other stuff that I'm going to be doing with Synapse and data in general, going back to kind of my roots of where I started. So really excited about it. Excited about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw up a question from Sandeep. It's a good question. I never thought about it. Who are the customers? Maybe you can't.
I can't talk about them. Yeah, I can't talk about them.
But like size wise, is it like?
Think of some of the largest. I'll just be very generic. Think of some of the largest businesses in the world. We'll just leave it at that. Think of some of the largest businesses in the world.
That sounds really cool. I can't talk about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's classified.
Well, it's not that it's classified. It's just, it's their business, so we can't, I'm sure if you talk to some of the people in the chat, we've probably worked with them. Just ask them where they work at,
Very good point. But is it like, is it also like ad hoc, like problem solving as well, or is it like?
Oh yeah. So I had a good one yesterday or day before yesterday. Jason is actually in the chat. Jason Himmelstein. Sorry, Jason, I keep messing up your name, but he and I were on the call with this particular customer, and we looked at the model, and they had a limited relationship. A limited relationship in the model, and the limited relationship actually can cause some performance problems. And so Jason and I, we put our heads together, and we came up with a solution. We presented to them the other day, and I think we helped them solve it. So there's a technical aspect to our job. We're expected to know, how to solve real Power BI problems. That's a big part of our job. And Jason and I, we were able to solve that problem. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Is any like situations come up where you just kind of like you're completely stumped? You got to go with like 2 weeks and come back and.
Yep.
Okay.
So the biggest thing, that I tell people in IT, it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. And so my favorite line is, I'm not sure. Let me write this down. I'll get back to you. And then we have a great team. We have a great team that I work for. I just reach out to someone on the team and go, have you ever encountered this? Oh, no, but I know such and such has. And I talk to that person. They explain it. And I was like, I got it. And then I go and figure it out. And then I tell them how to solve it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's a very good point about not being able. I'll try again. Not being afraid to admit that you don't know something. It's obviously very important when you do your job, so you can learn stuff. Otherwise, you won't learn. But I learned that completely when I started doing these live chats. I realized there is no way I can sit here at some point and pretend that I know what people are talking about. Because if I get called out on it's going to be like a really live moment. So yeah, I think I spend about, I would say, half of my time on these chats kind of listen to things that I have no concept of how any of these things understand. But it's great because you kind of, if I don't learn then, I can Google it later, right?
If you ever watched, or you can use Bing. So
I Bing it later, man, by the way, of course.
Just kidding. No, if you pay attention on the live stream, Adam and I say, I don't know a lot. It was like, Patrick, do you know? Adam, I don't know. So a lot of times we don't know the answers. But the great thing about not knowing the answers, it gives me something to go learn. You know, so we'll go off and I'll go take a shower and ponder over it and then come back and hopefully we have a solution for it. So yeah.
I had that actually a few weeks ago. It was about the object level security. It was about creating report pages that only certain viewers can see.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think so, but I think I remember a video.
Gilbert Q.
Yeah.
Gilbert Q at Formu wrote a blog post, and then I just did a video on RLS and OLS. And at the end of the video, I talk about it's not really security; it's just control page navigation. Yeah.
It was quite funny because I had this situation. I saw that blog post. I love Gilbert's blog; it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I saw your video, which referenced that blog post, and then the original case that they came back to me actually didn't require that functionality at all. All I needed was actual row level security.
Yep.
So like if I do like one page for each element and they can only see the element, and I was like, well, just do it. And then it's just, it's so much easier. But I didn't need it, but I learned it. So I was happy anyway. It's, and I was saying to someone a few weeks ago, I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy my job so much, because I realized I'm constantly learning. There's never a day where I haven't learned something new. It's awesome.
Yeah. Every day I learn something new. Almost every day. Because some days I just kind of have meetings all day and I don't get to learn anything. But mostly every day I learn something new. Adam and I were doing something in Excel today. And I was like, why is this not working? He's like, oh, I got it. Both of us learned something new today. It was pretty interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
It's not that difficult for me to learn something in Excel. I got to tell you that. When people like below the boundary of like my knowledge. So Power BI, ask me the question, no worries. And then the same colleague will ask me a question. Oh, Ben, in Excel. I was like, stop right there. Unless the question is in Excel, how do I open Power Query? Then I'm not going to know any answers to that question. But this is a good point. From every day I learn something, my brain is fried. It's a good point because I think it's also you have to learn the boundaries as well.
Yeah.
I'll really have to, like on a Saturday, say, okay, computer's not getting switched on today. I'm just gonna take it because it can become addictive.
Oh, it is addictive. So the video that's coming out next week, I'll give you an example. So somebody reached out to Adam and I were talking about it. Then Phil got involved and I'm like, I'm going to do a video on this. So I immediately said, hey, Phil, do you want to do the video? He's like, no, that's your thing. You go do the video. But before I did the video, I read 6 different Microsoft documents, 4 different blog posts from Phil. I talked to a couple of people. I talked to Adam. I talked to Phil, because just because somebody shows you how to do something, that doesn't mean you fully understand it. And before I did that video, I needed to fully understand why we were doing this. What was the reason for doing that? What's the purpose of doing this? So I spent, a lot of time digging into this, and I probably didn't need to, but when you have that obsession like we have, it's difficult not to want to know more or know all the things about this thing. So
yeah. It's when I get those moments where it's like 2 a.m. and my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, reading a blog. I'm sorry, I lost track of time, and it's just like still sitting there. Yeah, but boundaries is tough. I want to throw up a question from Johnny. What does he want to say? Still interested to know when value parameters lands.
Value parameters.
No.
Don't know what value parameters mean. I could tell you what, there's going to be something really cool this month when the May desktop drops that kind of has something to do with this a little bit. I actually was looking at it today. I showed it at Bits. But I'm not sure what he means by value parameters.
Okay.
But there's something really cool coming that kind of
sounds similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what it meant either, but I thought maybe you might know, but it's okay, fine.
Don't know what that means.
We move on. He's leaving now anyway, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. See, immediately we're talking about, not being able to admit when you don't know something, and immediately we didn't know. I
don't know.
You ever feel like you just want to throw out an it depends and to see if they go with it?
I don't think I have my jar. I don't have my jar wrong.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah, so what's second? Discipline. Yeah, exactly. So exciting to. Excuse me. I'm trying to throw up a comment, but I'm not very good at this.
Ooh, yeah. Go ahead.
Exciting, but hard to stay disciplined on one thing that takes longer. Yeah. Okay. So basically, yeah. If you have like sorry, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying like if you have like a whole mess of things to learn as well, sometimes it's like if you haven't, I'm not sure like how your projects kind of go on or the questions, but
I'll tell you this: the work things take priority. So if I'm working with a customer and they're stuck on something, that's top priority. So I work with them and try to figure it out, whatever it is, like the limited relationship thing. I read a doc from Microsoft yesterday. I read an article on SQL BI about it, and then I simulated it and built the demo. That was the top priority, right? And then somebody may send me an email and say, "Hey, Patrick, how do you do this?" And maybe I don't know how to do it. So that'll go next because that's going to make a great video, and then all the other stuff. So there's a million and other things I want to learn right now, Data Factory, and I want to learn some stuff about machine learning. I want to learn more about Synapse, serverless, and Spark, and all those things. So, I'll go read some articles on them and try to find the things that excite me the most. So I used to do a lot of SQL Server integration services. I used to do tons of SQL Server integration services. And I remember when Data Factory first came out, I kind of kicked the tires on. I was like, this will never be SSIS. This will never do what SSIS does. And then I started playing with it again. Recently, I was like, hey, this is not bad. So I'm probably so I try to, the things that interest me the most, there's a lot of things I want to learn, but the things that excite me and interest me the most, those are the things that'll come right behind the things I'm going to do for my videos. So it's the work, the videos, and then all the stuff I want to learn. That's usually how I do it.
It's a really, it's a fair point. I have, if you look at learning stuff, and as you described, there's a whole lot of different things. This interests me. It does frustrate me sometimes that the things that I'm obviously going to learn first are the things that I find interesting. The things that I can pretty much use as soon as possible, that I have use cases for. And there are so many times I was like, but this seems, in the large scheme of things, so much more important, but I might not use it for quite a long time. And it seems a bit more technical. So maybe I should, so really expand my range out. But if like, this is where I start, I kind of want to do this and this rather than kind of slowly build out the knowledge, but it's just, I don't know. But you're right. There are just so many different things.
You got to pick and choose. You got to find. And for me, it's just what excites me, because somebody say go learn about this, and I'm like, I really don't care about that. Why would I go learn about it? For me, it's I'm gonna learn I'm gonna tinker and mess around with what excites me. So
I mean, I probably have to blame you now, because I immediately got interested in Azure Synapse and analytics. I was like, okay, that looks quite interesting. Never done much with that before, so maybe kind of look at that. That's now added to my list. So that's actually the second thing. If I look at the things where I have to blame Gynacube for, I mentioned before the first one. I'd mentioned my dad is here, and my dad was like, "You said he had like a channel on YouTube, right?" I was like, "Yeah, it's just this thing I do." And he said, "I couldn't find it," and I said, "Well, the thing about my channel and not finding it is like when I first used Power BI a long time ago, I was like, everyone in the company called me the Power BI guy. So that's the Twitter handle that I used. I didn't know, fortunately for the community, unfortunately for me, that if you type Power BI guy into YouTube, the first probably 700 hits are going to be guy in a cube who work with Power BI. So I managed to make the most unfindable persona in the history.
You blame Adam for that. That's all, Adam.
I will. I'll have him on at some point in the future. I'm just going to sit and berate him for like 45 minutes for that. I thought I spent most of my time thinking that guy in a cube is called guy in a cube because of cube data, not actually a cubicle. Like
no, it's a cubicle.
Yeah,
he used to work in a cube. Yeah. Yeah.
I think there was a video or I saw a blog post I've written about that, and I was like,
Yeah.
right, okay. That I was like, because I felt so much, but why cube? Because they never really mentioned this sort of thing. It's more like Power BI, so why? But then I suddenly the penny dropped in. I could be quite slow sometimes, you understand. Oh, okay. Here's a good question. This is really about like a lot from Sandeep. Who does the animations in your videos? Because it is awesome. They are pretty awesome.
That's an Adam question.
Yeah.
If that's an Adam question, if anything, I think, you know what, I will say this: we do have some editors that edit all our videos, and they do all this amazing stuff, and they're amazing. They're awesome. But I actually think like some of the beginning animations, Adam actually did some of those earlier animations in the video. So, but we have a video editor that does all that stuff for us. They're amazing.
They do a bang up job. I was going to bring up. There is also the Power BI guy on YouTube as well, which is also another point, and that's my fault because I didn't realize it was an extraordinarily unoriginal name. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's pretty good. And I was like, after like half a year, I was just kind of like, okay, there's like 35 Power BI guys, but it's too late now. I've done it. I like my Twitter handle. I'm not going to change. I said it once to Bernard. I was like, I'm going to change it. And I was like, you know what? I can't be bothered. Like, I can't be bothered, not even at all. If I had more time, if I cared a little bit more, I probably would. But it's.
Man, I hadn't been a DBA for I don't know how many years, and I still have the same Twitter handle, Patrick DBA. So I'm not changing it. I don't care.
It's the apathy that gets you, you know.
It is what it is. I am who I am. So you know.
I love it. You are. I saw. I was reading a quick blog post or not a blog post, an information about Patrick, and one of the guys that you're a guy who gets lost walking down mountains or something. I read it.
I did. Man. We went to when I worked for Pragmatic Works. We hiked up Mount Rainier. Me, Brian, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the other guy's name. But we hiked up Rainier the week before the past summit, or days before the past summit. And on the way coming down, we got completely lost. It's dark, it's raining, it's snowing, it's sleeting, all at the same time. And we were completely lost. And fortunately, we ran into this military guy who knew all about mountains. And he said, oh, your car is probably about 15 minutes that way. And so we were going around the mountain instead of down the mountain. So it was a long day.
That is quite a lucky person to just bump into, right?
Yeah. It was great. It was great.
Oh man, this is fantastic. Well, I'm very pleased you found it. Did you give up on it from then? You're like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore.
No, I won't go up on a mountain again. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with staying flat on.
Fair enough. So. Well, I'm from England. We have some mountains, but they're more like extremely large hills. So though it's always good, you know, the night times I'm in Scotland and I've been going to these large hills through mountains. It's all like, you know, like Ben Nevis and stuff. And I'll always think it's really funny to get my photograph taken next to the sign that says Ben on it and stuff, which is always good fun for me. But I was in Switzerland, Austria recently, up some mountains for pretty much the first time in my life. But I had my kids with me, 5 and 8, so we didn't do a whole lot of mountaineering, more like walking a bit, really.
The snow, and I'm about 6'1". The snow was about up to my waist on this mountain. So we would take steps, and literally the snow was almost up to my waist. So that was God. And the funny thing was they had these little bitty trees. And so I was like, oh man, look at those little bitty trees. They were actually tops of very tall trees. So you don't walk too close to them or you'll go down those trees. So yeah, it was just not safe. The whole thing was a bad idea. The whole thing was just a bad idea.
This sounds pretty terrifying, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Just
see the top of your head through the snow as you're trying to walk away from a car.
This is not a good thing.
Oh, mate, that's fantastic. Right. I promise you 45 minutes. I don't want to take you too far over it. I really appreciate you joining us. It's been
absolutely.
A really good fun chat.
Thanks for the invite, Ben. I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody who joined. Yeah, much appreciated.
Exactly. Thanks everyone in the chat. Always good fun. Your comments, your questions always make it a much more fun chat. And Patrick, I shall see you at some point in the future. And thanks again. And
you're welcome.
Take care, everyone.
You're welcome.